Okay, I just want to do some co-creating with you on tweaking, vibration, and alignment. Okay.
Perfect point in time.
Right on. So, when you do Rampage of Appreciation, it's awesome. It goes through all these emotions and it lifts my vibration up. And I notice
When we do it,
when you discuss it in your videos,
because we wait until you're ready to be ready to be ready. And so when we offer it, there's no energy of resistance that's having to be overcome. You see what we're getting at? It's the timing of it that makes it feel like that. If someone asks us to do a rampage on something that they're worried about, we don't do it. Because once they activate that worry, then anything we say in trying to goose it up is just efforting that just backfires. You follow?
I notice when you do it, it raises the vibration. Now,
Have you noticed that when we do it, we always start general? We start general where it's easy for you to all come along. And then once we're all coming along together, then we become more specific about it. Yes?
Yes. So, to further on that, I wanted to focus on the 17 seconds that we go into for a specific energy. I noticed
Give us that sentence again. It was a good sentence. We just want to hear it clearly because we want to
I
dissect.
want to focus on the individual energy within, because a rampage of appreciation is many energies usually that like ease, flow. I feel if I was to focus on one of those words for 17 seconds or more, 68 seconds max or more, it would have a better effect on me vibrationally if I focus on one of those energies, right?
Well, maybe. You could focus on anything that doesn't have resistance. The point of 17 seconds, let's talk about that. We've been saying to you that when you focus upon something for as little a period of time as 17 seconds, without contradicting it will exponentially grow. So let's say it's 17 seconds of something you're worried about. That worry will get bigger after 17 seconds. Let's say it's something that you are looking forward to. That good feeling thought will get bigger after 17 seconds. There's not a lot of power in that little pop that happens at 17 seconds. So if you hold it for another 17 and another till you get a little more than a minute, now there's enough momentum that you've allowed. That's like getting ready to be ready to be ready. That you just might, it depends upon what's going on with you, receive a 17 seconds again and again and again until you've crossed the 68-second mark is enough that you could connect with a thought that your inner being is thinking about the same thing. That's where true momentum kicks in. So what is it you're trying to get out of the 17-second conversation?
So I notice when I do my list of appreciation, I go through a list and I just do each item that I appreciate. But I'm not specifically necessarily spending 17 seconds on each item.
But the thing is, those things that you already easily appreciate, there's already a lot of momentum on them. So we can't even have the conversation about 17 seconds because there's way more momentum about something that you easily appreciate. That's exponentially so much bigger. The only reason that we talk about 17 seconds at all is because we are wanting to clarify that you live in an attractive universe and that when you focus, you attract. And that the attraction comes in these little clusters or envelopes of energy, so to speak. There's something about understanding how it works that makes you more likely to pay attention to how you're feeling. That's really the only point of the 17-second discussion. A lot of people were carrying timers or stopwatches or different things around, and they were trying to focus upon something to allow the momentum to go. And the whole conversation was only about helping you to understand that if you get headed towards something unwanted, it will get bigger. And if you get headed towards something wanted, it will get bigger. And it is better to do it in general terms than in specifics. So let us just say to you, the 17-second concept is a much better general concept than it is specific concept.
I can go into specifics and practice that individual vibration and then bring more of that.
For example, give us an example of what you're talking about.
If I said something I appreciate where I live. I just focus on, not necessarily, if I focus on where I live, the weather, the people around, my surroundings. That's focusing all in that energy of where I live, right? And if I keep going on.
So let us pick up on what you're getting at. So let's say you walk out of your door, and let's say that you've already prepared yourself to walk out your door. You woke up, you didn't get into any negative discussions with anyone, you didn't try to fix anything that's broken. You got up, and early in your morning, while you're still in the non-resistant mode, you went out to take a walk. And let's say you stepped out into really good feeling air and you acknowledged it. And let's say that you had an emotional response to that good feeling air. So you didn't necessarily think, oh, this is good feeling air. You just had exposure to experience that felt good to you, with felt being the operative word here. So now you're having a feeling experience. You are translating this moment through your physical senses, and what you find is pleasurable. So now, this is what you're reaching for, and this is what we really want you to hear. Without you then saying, oh, I now have to parlay this good feeling into gooder, so I'm going to say, ooh, that's a pretty house, ooh, that's a pretty bird, ooh, that's a pretty... I'm going to deliberately focus on, you don't have to do anything, because you're already in that mode of attraction, and now this will match your feeling, and that will match your feeling, and that will match your feeling. In other words, the universe will deliver to you experiences that match the vibration of your being that you are translating through feeling. You don't have to make it a thinking process. So let's say that happens. It just feels gooder and gooder and gooder. And now you can feel yourself really enjoying this, and you decide, I'm so tuned in, tapped in, turned on. I'm going to use this as a productive moment to really increase the energy of this moment. We gave Esther a process. Interesting that you're talking like this. Just recently, she's been doing it for a couple of weeks, where she takes a notebook, and at the top of a page she writes, the words on this page are for the purpose of enhancing the momentum on the subject of whatever it is. But she's doing it only from this state of being that you are describing, because when you feel like that, and your intention is to keep the vibration going, to focus with the specific intention of not only keeping that vibration going or allowing it to stay going, but to focus it in the direction of things that matter to you, now you can make some vibrational headways on a lot of subjects. That's really a productive way to be a deliberate creator. But feel the difference between that and having a problem and sitting down with the problem in your belly and saying, these words on this page are being written to improve the vibration of, because you know what? Every word you write, no matter how positive it appears to be, will not improve the vibration. It will accentuate where you're sitting. This is leading edge. You followed it though, didn't you? Did you?
Yes. Okay, so if I was doing my list of appreciation, and I turn over to my...
Well, we have a question for you. Why would you be doing a list of appreciation? What's your reason?
Well, following your practice.
Why else? Because that's not a very good
For
reason.
just appreciation.
For the sheer pleasure of it.
And raising my vibration on what I appreciate.
So it's not to make something happen that isn't happening. A little bit of that.
Well, of course, I have a huge wish list.
But it's not to make something happen that isn't happening, because that will backfire. It's for the sheer pleasure of keeping this going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really about appreciating what I have. And then from that point, going over to where I put a word in the center and I do the circle process around my word. I forgot what it's called. It's your process. Focus wheel, thank you. When I do my focus wheel, I go from my list of appreciation right to my focus wheel. And then, like for instance, I have a focus wheel on money. So around my focus wheel, I do each of my sentences. Now I started noticing, if I was to go fast through my sentences, like I can't wait, or I so appreciate if, or I've actually come to a conclusion, it feels better if I say, I can finally pay off my debt, and I sit there with that feeling. So I wanted to ask you, if I sat there with each one of my sentences and focused, I can finally pay off all my debt for 68 seconds, is that more powerful than going through all of my lists of questions or all of my lists of I can finally, if I just do it with individual ones?
The thing that we're wanting you to hear that we have added to the conversation recently. So just listen to this, and we're going to come back to everything that you're asking about, but this is so right where this discussion is, and your questions point out the improvement in the discussion over what it was when we were encouraging those processes. Those processes certainly were beneficial. This process is more, and we'll tell you why. So you get it that you've been living life and that your vortex is full of things that are potential to be manifested, that exist in a vibrational reality that haven't manifested yet, so you're not yet seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. They're like the seed in the ground that has yet to sprout and give you benefit. But it exists because it is a seed and it does hold promise. So this vibrational reality exists, and its full manifestation is dependent upon your ability to realize it. There's nothing real in the world outside of your realization of it. You make it real. You make it real through your receiving of it, through your seeing of it, and so forth. It's your creation, and you create through realization. Just stay there. We know. Just stay there for a little bit. So that means that takes us to a subject. Turning thoughts to things. Thoughts turn into things. Vibrations turn into thoughts, and thoughts turn into things. So it's just the most natural process in the world. Thoughts turn into things. It's the most natural process in the world. So all of this is in your vortex, and it already has enough momentum, way more than 17 seconds. Your inner being and infinite intelligence have been focused upon your creation to the point that it's not just 17 seconds along the road. It is a full-blown, for sure, slam dunk, absolute creation that is there for your realization. But your realization on anything, first of all, it varies on different topics. And you're not ready for the full realization of any of it. That's why the full realization of it isn't happening. But you're ready to be ready for some of it. And so, let's say you've meditated and you're feeling good, and something occurs to you, sort of some of the things that you're talking about. Now, we want you to feel the distinction between just letting those thoughts flow and turning your undivided attention to it and trying to goose it along. Some of what you're talking about is like reminiscent of trying to push a noodle. We want you to not try so hard and not try to apply so much of yourself every step along the way. Instead, we're asking you to accept that the vortex is real, and to accept that there's a reality that's already formed, and to accept that your inner being knows what it is and where it is and how it is and when it is and who it is, and that your inner being knows where you stand right now, this red hot minute, in relationship to its evolution. And also that your inner being knows that the evolution of it is what's going to ring your bells, not the completion of it. It's the evolution of it, you see. So we're asking you to be ready for the receiving, not so thoughtful about pushing it forward. Can you feel that distinction?
So not necessarily, just keep playing, basically doing what I'm doing.
Keep having fun
playing,
with it.
having fun.
And realize that a lot of what you're talking about, we really want you to hear this most of all. A lot of what you're asking of us right here and now, you've been receiving these impulses. That's why you wrote it down and you want to ask about it. Your inner being has been feeding some of this to you too. Let's let this part of the discussion, just for a moment, be about the all-important distinction between you receiving a thought and you thinking a thought. Can you go there for a minute? The distinction between you receiving a thought and you thinking a thought. Now, think about step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1 is you're thinking the thought. I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I like this better, and I wish I had that. You're thinking those thoughts. Step 1 is you thinking. It's you sifting and sorting and defining and deciding. You're thinking, you're thinking, you're thinking. Step 2 is you're not thinking. Inner being received it, knows it, holds complete knowledge about it. And step 3 is you're not thinking. Step 3 is you're receiving. Step 3 is you're chilled, you're trusting, you have general things you know about law of attraction, you know about your vortex, you know about your guidance system. In other words, you could think those thoughts, but don't. You're just going to come from a quieted mind, and when a thought pops into your mind that's not on the subject that you've been ratcheting up 17 seconds at a time, that's not a thought you're receiving, that's a thought you've been thinking, you're ratcheting it up 17 seconds at a time. You see what we're getting at? Instead, you receive this thought, and it's not about something you were thinking about. It's not about something that you were thinking about even recently. Esther wasn't thinking about her sound system until she was thinking about her sound system. So she knew it wasn't a thought that had progressed in her mind. She knew, hear it, it was a thought that had progressed in the vortex. Drum roll, please. Feel that, because thoughts are progressing in your vortex. And when you get into the receiving mode, then you get to receive the momentum of those thoughts that are in motion, you see. So can you feel more and more that what your work really is to prepare yourself to receive thoughts? And it's not that it's thoughts that you're not thinking. They matter to you. They are your thoughts because they were your questions. The answers to your questions you own. These are your answers, but they're not answers that you're thinking. They're answers that you're receiving. You did your thinking when you asked the question. Now you're in step 3, receiving the answer. This is the best conversation that we've ever had about the art of receiving. So we want to say some things to you, like you're thinking too much about thinking. Your vortex is full of things that you've asked about, and so just give yourself more opportunity to get into that place where you can receive. And then, as we said earlier, once you allow yourself to follow the thread of some of those thoughts and you see where it leads.
I just find myself doing a lot of this energy work to try to raise my vibration and use some of the tools that I've studied to increase how I feel during the day and just float about and let these feelings come in.
Well, anything that you're doing that improves the way you feel is a really beneficial and powerful and productive use of your focus and time. In other words, anything that makes you feel better. That's why we say if you catch yourself in a moment that feels good, just milk it. Milk it, devour it, examine why it feels so good. Every now and again, if you find yourself in a place that just feels extra good, ask yourself, what's so good about this place? Is it the environment? Is it the carpet on the floor? Is it the ambience in the room? Is it the air in the room? Is it about the other people in the room? Is it the music in the room? And often, Esther, as she was writing her segment of intentions, and she always sort of focuses herself into this room with you, she was acknowledging how good this environment feels because it pleases all of the physical senses. It looks good, it feels good, it smells good. None of her physical senses are assaulted in an environment like that, which means it's a particularly good environment for further realization of further pleasantries. You see what we're getting at?
Setting yourself up for more.
Ready, to be ready, to be ready, to be ready. But ready to receive, not ready to think. When you think a thought, that thought thinks. And so there's all kinds of things thinking all around you, all kinds of thoughts thinking around you. But someone who is really thinking in a way that really benefits you is your inner being who exists inside of everything that you desire. And your inner being is always, always, and only thinking about what you desire, about who you really are. So you could say, in the way that we were describing you being in a room where your physical senses are devouring in positive ways, your inner being is in your vortex devouring in positive ways. Pleased with the life that you lived that caused you to put it there. Pleased with the synergy of what's there. Pleased with the cooperative components that you've managed to gather through your attention to life. Pleased with the formulation, pleased with the current status of all of it. And most of all, your inner being is pleased with its understanding of your discovery and your pleasure as you allow more of what's there to be realized in your physical senses. So if you think it feels good to be in a beautiful room with beautiful chandeliers and comfortable environment, good sound that you can hear and good conversation and lovely people that are like-minded to a certain degree, if you think that an environment like this feels good, then imagine the satisfaction that you are going to have as the contents of your vortex move into a manifestation that then you can devour with your physical senses. Did you kind of get what we're getting at? We're asking you to reach into a place that you may not have consciously gone before. The thrill of life really is the thoughts turning to things. The thrill of life really is you getting to witness the maturation of what you put there. Of your thoughts, your important thoughts and questions and problems that set all of that into motion, and now your creation is growing and ripening and becoming, and you get to witness it and nurture it and move it along, and every step along the way have more contrasting step one moments that put more into the vortex. So you got that, didn't you? You can feel the evolution of your vortex turning to things. You can feel the evolution of you being in the receiving mode and being more aware of more of that as it's in the state of becoming. And we know you caught the spirit that we were offering here of you getting to witness the manifestation or the seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching of all of this that you've set into motion. And now we want you to focus just for a moment, because it'll take you to a whole new rampaged level. We want you to focus on how, as you are allowing that to unfold, how within it sometimes even there is subtle contrast that causes you to ask for more that keep it all coming. And that's why we say you never get it done and you can't get it wrong. And the reason that you can't get it wrong is because it's never done. So no matter where you stand, you're still asking for more. So let's be clear. You are never outside of a thinking moment. We're asking you not to think. We're asking you to receive. You are never outside.
I've never played a day of organized football in my life. People said I was too small, too slow, too old. Nobody wants a 30-year-old rookie on their...
Evaluation of where you are. So even though you're in the receiving mode, there's still some evaluation going on within it. That's the perfectly normal thing. Just don't get carried away with it, and you were a little carried away with it. You're just thinking a little too much, thinking too much, and receiving a little not as much as we would like you to do. Just keep it in balance. What that requires is accepting that you're not here to prove anything to anyone. Accepting that there are no charts for you to fill. There are no ladders for you to climb. There's not something for you to overcome or something for you to undo. Your Creator's out here on the leading edge of thought, and it all starts right here and now with you. And so the sooner you stop trying to explain where you've been and how you got here, and you start acknowledging where you are and start enjoying what's coming from this, then the sooner you will be the empowered being that you were born to be. Nobody's asking for your apologies or for your justification about why you're here. Everyone's rooting for the success. And all of us know what's in your vortex so far. But what's in your vortex is not finished. You're going to put more in right in the midst of your receiving mode. You will still put more in. It's like building a new house because there are not enough closets. And so you really put a lot of emphasis on the closet. And you talk to the closet designers and you really, you build a house with the most magnificent closets, but your kitchen is lacking so many things. And you didn't know it until you got in the house, and now you're working on your kitchen a little bit, you see? And so you're never going to stop finding something that can be improved, because that is the nature of the eternal beings that we are. It is our wish that you all will let the pleasure of expansion be your dominant intention. You're born into this environment with 3 powerful intentions in your knowing heart.
I've never played a day of organized football in my ordinary rookie.
When you decided to come into this body, your intentions were equally balanced and equal in their importance. They are the intentions of acknowledging your freedom, acknowledging it, because freedom is. You're so free you can choose bondage. your intention was to acknowledge your freedom and to seek your joy and to witness your expansion. That's what you said. I'm going to acknowledge my freedom, and I'm going to seek my joy, and I will witness my expansion. Now, your expansion is inevitable. You can't stop it. But to witness it, that's the best. And it turns out that's where the joy is. The joy is in witnessing your own expansion, you see. Because it's not fun to fulfill somebody else's intention for you. When your mother said do it, that was no fun. You just did it. Because it was less painful to do it than to not do it. But your true joy is when the vortex calls out to you and you're in a position where you hear it and then you follow the thread of that calling right into the joyful life that your inner being knows that you deserve. We've enjoyed this interaction more than any that has come before it. It is always so delightful for us to be with those like you who are reaching into new places and who are consciously discovering them. We feel compelled to say to you, or inspired from our own inner being to say to you, lighten up. Be easier about it. There's nothing serious going on here. You're blessed and you're loved and you're here for the pleasure of your own expansion. And it's supposed to be fun. There is great love here for you. And as always, we remain stubbornly and eternally in your
part of that question is sort of, this is a good grounds to make this question more the next part of that question is sort of, this is a good grounds to make this question more easily answered, I guess. The next part of that question is sort of, this is a good grounds to make this question more easily answered, I guess. In addition to this, what makes my work particularly peculiar is I also do translation of non-physical as like me. So I do coaching, so I coach actors. And looking at what Esther does here, and I've only been following your teachings for a little bit less than a year, but I mean, I've really absorbed what's going on here. And it just matched up with what I already had the knowing of.
Yeah.
And so as Esther sits here and relaxes into the frequency, the station from which Abraham broadcasts, that's very, very, I want to say it's special because it's similar to what I do. But it's funny, as an actor, I can come up with and conjure lines and words and things for characters that may or may not exist, but they do through me. And when I sit and I do this work, let's say with coaching someone or translating for them, I get mostly images, and I look to Esther, who gets the words. And from
different people are. Esther's more auditory. You may be more visual, although you are auditory as well. But there is another distinction that we think is worth making here, and that is when Esther is translating for us, we are a consistent energy stream that she has learned to tune to. And so it's it's an easier thing for her to tune to the consistency that is us than it is for you to tune to the frequency that may be this one or this one or this one or this one. So if you can, as a basis, as something that you do at the beginning of your process, if you can tune into who you are, so it goes like this. You're tuning into the frequency of that broader perspective who is really who you are, who will then tune into the frequency of this one and this one and this one and this one. And Esther is doing some of that here. In other words, there's a lot going on in a gathering like this, and it's a vibrational meeting, much more than it is a verbal meeting. So for every word that is uttered, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of thoughts that are transmitted that are all melded together. And so in the beginning, when Esther was receiving us, it felt to her as if there was a thought and then another thought, and it was almost as if she was reaching up to pull that one down and reaching up to pull that one down. Like there could be many different storylines, where as the time has gone by, now it's so compelling she never has any question about what it is that Abraham's wanting to present in any moment in time. So what we're saying to you is, what makes this successful in the way that it is Esther's vibrational preparation. She meets us at that vibrational place. And your preparation is the same. You're meeting that broader, your inner being, that higher self first, and then everything else will take care of itself. We asked you a very important question at the beginning, and we didn't really take the time for you to give us a sufficient answer. But we want to know, what is your preparation when you are attempting or getting ready to receive inspiration about a character that you might express? Let's just do that for a moment rather than extract it from another. What is your preparation? In other words, we ask you the question, do you get to know the character? Is the character placed in his environment? Is the character placed in his mood or attitude? Is the character placed in his circumstance? Because it's only once you understand those things and you're actually able to acknowledge and emanate the mood of your character, that the appropriate words would then flow through. Because you are diverse in the characters that you're playing. You don't want to be typecast into one.
That's like my forte. I have such an extreme range of characters, and even when I'm on camera or in pictures, a lot of people say, that's not you, or that doesn't look like you at all. And I say, isn't that cool though? That's my job. And it's sort of extreme for some people, but I look at it as frames per second on a camera is the same as frames per second in a time-space reality, and it's just capturing the essence of who I am. So if I focus that essence while it's being captured, it's logical that what you watch back on the tape may not even physically resemble who I am now, because that was my focus.
Well, that is the best description of deliberate creation that we've ever heard, because everyone is an actor in the sense that they get to project whatever vibration that they choose to project. And here you are doing it deliberately, intentionally, in a broad range of attitudes and moods and experiences and life experience. And in every case, you are an actor doing that, so you're not jeopardizing what your vibrational being or point of attraction is. But if everyone who's listening in would understand that deliberate creation is just exactly that, understand the role you want to play and find its vibrational, emotional basis first, and then practice that so that that's who you are. In other words, when you are a character in a presentation, whether it is on a stage or in a movie or in a commercial, when you are an actor with other actors around you, they're responding to who you are because you are emanating who you are, and it would be illogical for them to not react to who you actually are. Well, this is the way the entire universe is responding to you. The universe is responding to each of you. You are an actor in a role, and everything and everyone else is responding to that which you are emanating, you see. So you just need to decide, am I a prosperous person standing here in this role that the universe is reacting to? Am I a revered and respected co-worker in this environment, or am I someone that gets beat up and picked on? Who am I? Who am I now? What has life brought me to? Who am I as I stand in this point of attraction? Because everyone else is responding to who you are. This is why everyone who has ever written a movie wants a really good cornerstone key actor, because they know you get an actor like that, you just need one actor like that, and an actor that is really in sync with who he is and what's going on. He will extract from everyone that interacts with him the exact performance or behavior. You see, just takes one. Just takes you standing where you are, being who you are. You can set the tone in your family. You can set the tone at your work. You can set the tone in the pod of traffic that's driving where you are. You can set the tone in the behavior of a hotel. You can set the tone in the restaurants that you frequent. You can set the tone for the way your children behave in their life experience. You can set the tone. You are the center of this universe. You are.
Something else that would satisfy me a lot if you could prod around in my vibration. That being said, what you said there about setting the tone, I've worked and I've had performances where gone into, I guess, such extreme character. You talk a lot about in the work of sometimes things will bounce off people if they're not a vibrational match. And I've been in a situation several times where an actor, maybe who's not up to speed, will kind of like break the scene, and I'm like, oh, what happened? Because then I followed a character and fall off the momentum, and I can feel falling off the momentum. And they're just like, sorry, like you were just a little too intense, or you were too whatever it was. So is that the same thing as the bouncing off? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, it is, but we want to go back to what we were saying earlier, because we would spend no time figuring out how well someone is going to respond to you. That's their job. And if you try to get in their head, then you've lost your character. You've forgotten who you are. And that's what happens to people all day, every day. You get in the head of your kids, or you get in the head of your mates, or you get in the head of your friends. When you try to don the perspective of another, you've lost your point of attraction, and now they don't know what to do, you see. So just stay in character, friends. Define who you are and stay in character. And if it's too intense for them, then say, hey, I'm an intense character here. That's the objective. And your response was completely normal, because I've got it going on here as this character. If they throw you off, then they were the dominant character, weren't they? Who is the dominant character in the play that you're playing? Is it you or is it them? A lot of times you want it to be them. It's their fault. It's their fault. I was doing good until they did that. Oh, so they run your show? They do. If you're looking at them as running your show, see.
You're the center of the universe, and I guess the lead in your movie.
You're the lead. You're the lead, and everyone else is a cooperative component who will read your script and fill in the pieces exactly as you have defined it by the vibrational frequency that you offer.
There's been a lot of pieces that have been coming together in profound synchronicity, and I document this like blogs or whatever, and I kind of grounded. I came and I saw you in Phoenix, and you said that, you know, you talk a lot about source and energy and the law of attraction, and you're looking forward to getting into more of the cars and the money and the musical projects and these things that are blended in a sense of not losing the perspective of seeing life through the eyes of source, but enriching it through the physical perspective as a personality, and then as if it's just logical, normal, not I'm attracting, I'm using law of attraction, it's source, it's not physical, it's just sort of like this blended language as well. And that's where I'm moving forward, and I've gotten a lot of synchronicity. Gonna get documented just for fun, not
Just
for
want
me.
to take one moment to say perfect words.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They were inspired.
Yeah.
Do this to me.
Yeah.
This is one of me, from Canada. So I've had these synchronicities that have been coming around. I'll stay general in this, but a particular actor in the world, and this connection has been made. And I'm not normally into, you know, intuitive whatever. I keep it real general, real simple. And I can't deny that this project, I don't even know what it is, but it's coming up, and I'm working with this actor. And I say, Daniel, that's like one of the biggest actors, whatever. But it's undeniable, so I've accepted it because it excites me and it is part of my desire, and I believe that I'm a match to it. So the unfolding, here we go. there some sort of legitimacy to what I'm saying about this? If you can get
Well,
what I'm
this
saying.
dovetails precisely with what we were saying earlier about, so you've already put it into the vortex, and the vortex has already done its part, and now any conversation that you produce about that only helps you to ensure a steady, stable vibration about that, which just makes it easier for you to experience the revelation of it moving into your grid.
Which is fun on its own, because I step back at this point now, and some of my friends just look at me, or people who follow me on like my writing, and they just say, I was like, you son of a bitch, or like you heard the words, or you were there, part of the experience. So now it's sort of like, it's almost like the expectation goes beyond me, it's others around me sort of crutch to that expectation.
Oh, well, there's this
as well.
energy. That's what happens with a really good troupe that gets together to do anything. In other words, you just play off one another. You get tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and inspire someone else to get tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And now you've got something otherworldly that the world stands back in amazement as it watches it. This is what mastery of life is all about, you see. And the fact that it is fun for you is the next logical step. It's just the way it is supposed to feel. And nothing else will do now. You can't step back from this knowledge.
I can't step back, and I've also lost the whole grip on where, when I was younger, it was a quest for fame, and then as I got more mature, it was a quest to prove my artistic ability. Then it was a quest to prove, like, my establishment is, you know, just a nice player of the game. And now it's just, I actually don't care what I do at all in my life.
And now it is a quest for identifying in this moment what I choose for my point of attraction to be, why I joyously watch the universe fill in all of the details as affirmation of what I've chosen. In other words, there is no greater exhilaration, no matter what field or endeavor you are focused upon, than to feel the universal response to your aligned point of focus. That is a leverage of energy and power and love that is so far beyond the action world that most people are living in.
So, I'm not delusional?
Yes, you are. You are delusional in this sense. We're going to give you a definition for delusional. Delusional is seeing the world differently than most of the world sees it, and differently than most of the world would like me to see it. I stand in the delusional place of mastery with all of the greats.
This has been delicious, thank you.
If you write anything on your computer, you need to get Grammarly.
I write pretty much all day, every day.
Your shirt is a contradiction. I hesitated putting it on. In fact, it was in my purse before we came, and I pulled it back out. It says over it, but if you were over it, you wouldn't wear it. Then I'm under it. First of all, I'm so grateful to have found you. I was born already knowing how to connect with the universe, to a point that just now in the restroom, I remembered that when I was little, I grew up, I knew I would either be chosen as the captain or I would be chosen first. There was never a question in my mind. I wanted so much to be up here what derailed me? Irrelevant also. Okay. So I'm coming back on track. Now you're not, as long as you're talking about the 32 years of derailment.
Correct.
Keeping them active and dragging them into the now.
Correct, and that's the part that has so much momentum.
Doesn't need to though.
How do I stop it?
It's all right, but you keep the momentum alive by remembering it, by retelling it. Someone talked about this earlier, by using it as an excuse for where you are a little bit. Even though you don't want to, it keeps feeling like the relevant excuse. You don't stop it all at once, you stop it a little bit at a time. You just bridge gradually. But the best way is to just start fresh. Start fresh in this moment and in this moment and in this moment. What is so compelling about that derailment? Are you just so mad at yourself that you were derailed? Do you feel like you missed things and wasted time? Because there are a lot of people that have passed through 30 years, and none of the years that they've passed to are as dynamic as what's happening right now. But it doesn't mean that it wasn't of value. If it brings you to a place of strong wanting, it mattered, it was of value. It wasn't a derailment, it was a launching pad. You see what we're getting at? Because your desire is strong right now, strong because of that. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. So could you go with that instead of with that? What happened? You don't have to tell us. We just want you to think about it. What happened that was so emphatic that it makes you want to call it a derailment, and even more important, blame it? Why do you still want to blame it?
I don't think I want to blame it, I want to get away from it.
Because if you could make it okay, in other words, take the monster out of it, and then there's not the feeling that you need to get away from it, and if there's not the feeling that you need to get away from it, then there's not an active vibration about it, and then it just isn't.
I think what it is that I started feeling like whatever I did manifest or whatever I did, things just came to me, almost like the Midas touch, everything. But someone else took it. It became theirs, and so I think I stopped wanting to have anything come.
But it's such a wonderful thing. We know it doesn't feel that way yet, but that's such a distortion of the way it works, because no one is attracting it for you, and no one is taking it away from you. It's only your perception that brings it in, and it's only your perception that keeps it out. That's why we called it a monster, something that you're blaming. But it's that attention to that. It's giving power to something that doesn't deserve the power, that's keeping you from your own power.
So to leave that completely in the past and to go to something new, there's such a fear because
You can't all of a sudden leave it completely in the past, but you could fill the now up with other things. It's like Esther with her furniture, which seems like a ridiculously simplistic comparison. But if you are attracting the new, then it's easier to let go of the old. But if you're dragging the old around with you, then there's no place for the new. You have some choices, and we talked about it earlier. If you are determined that the choice of thought is going to be a good feeling one, and you start out before the bad feeling ones have filled in, then it's easier. Imagine having a colorful palette, and let's call it liquids, and a lot of depth in the colors. And you've got your canvas, and because you're not paying attention to what you're doing, or because you're having a negative moment remembering something negative in the past, you just sort of randomly take a brush and color that's sort of deep in color, and you paint the whole board with it. It's a black or a brown or a deep, deep purple. And then you say, wait a minute, that wasn't what I wanted. But it's hard to cover that up with the other lighter colors. Even though you want something lighter now, you can't quite do it. But tomorrow you could wake up and just not put the deep purple or the black on the board. You don't have to drag that board around and try to lighten it up. You can just start with a new board and put the light on it to begin with. You see what we're getting at? But there's a tendency to believe that because I lived something, that I have to now unlive it, that I have to fix it or detach from it or understand it. And you really don't. You can just start in fresh new thoughts. And if we could convince you, and we want to, but we can't, because there's no assertion. If there were, you'd already have it. Got it? No, it doesn't work like that. But what we would like you to feel that you can start fresh. You can start fresh. And in time, that will be like a distant memory. It'll be like something that happened to somebody else. It'll be like something that you don't even talk about. And you will know how well it served you because it lighted a desire within you that's way bigger than any desire that you ever had before. You were sort of a product of someone else's desire for a long, long time. And out of that experience, you've now found your own desire. And your own desire is, so much more powerful. There's such a much stronger point of attraction when it's your desire. Say. Nobody wants to be pushed around, and nobody wants to be taken advantage of, and nobody wants to be played, and nobody wants to be used up. In other words, these are things that people worry about. But the truth of it is, none of that can happen. It's just an illusion or a misperception that you have. Because sometimes somebody who's sort of loudmouthed and big gets in your face and tells you things that are so loud that you start to listen. And as you start to listen, then it starts to play out that way. But you don't have to listen just because someone's talking. One time, someone was in the hot seat talking about someone who was very troubling to her. And we began looking for the person. We looked everywhere for the person. And turned out the person was nowhere in the room. And yet, so vividly part of the conversation. And that's what law of attraction does with thoughts and experiences. You can reactivate them easily, but you don't have to. And so, it's much easier to activate something new than to try to deactivate something because you can't deactivate it. Nothing can be deactivated because when you look at it, the thing that you're not going to think about, you're thinking about it. The more you don't want to think about it, the more you're thinking about that thing that you don't want to think about. And that thing that you don't want to think about takes on a life of its own, and then it feels like it's thinking you. It isn't. It's not thinking you. You're thinking it. But you want to find a fresh place, and that fresh place is after meditation.
So, I'm so used to fixing things, and I'm trying, so I have a mantra of never give up, and then listening to you, this was what resonated was, give up, just give up, just give up. Well, here's the thing. How do I do that when it doesn't fix itself? I want to tell you something that is a misperception. Do not give up on your desires for this reason. You can't. Because you put it in the vortex, you've got source energy all over it. So it's not giving up the desire, it's giving up the resistance that you've been dragging along with the desire. So phrase that a different way. I'm not giving up on what I want. I'm just letting go of the way I was going about it. Or I'm giving up the struggle. I'm giving up the thinking too much about it. Or I'm giving up overthinking it. I'm giving up a timeline. I'm giving up being hard on myself about it. I'm giving up my negative thoughts about it. I'm giving up my negative feelings about it. Not giving up on my desire is more vivid than ever. Just make those kinds of comments to yourself. Have you heard us talking about segment intending? So segment intending is you realize that it's a new segment that you're entering into. Like it was a new segment when you came to the stage. It's a new segment when the seminar ends and you are on your way to your car. It's a new segment when you get into your car. So new segments all the time. And each new segment does ask for a different focus on your intentions because you have different intentions when you're communicating with someone than you do when you're by yourself in your vehicle, for example. So it's really helpful to identify the segment and make some statements to yourself about what you want from the segment. So Esther's been segment intending for a very long time. When she gets into her car, she would intend that she would have a nice drive, and she would intend that it would be comfortable and safe, and she would intend that traffic would be kind to her, and she would intend those kinds of things. And she usually has very nice drives. The traffic and the weather is very good to Esther because she's been asking it to be for a long time, and it just is because she expects it to be. But recently, as she was contemplating segment intending, we said to her, in the spirit of it, something that we've been saying for a while, you want to get out ahead of it, you want to get out ahead of it, you want to get out ahead of it. Well, segment intending is, in a sense, getting out ahead of it. It's saying, I'm going to be over there, and when I get over there, I want it to be this way and this way and this way. But in the true spirit
establishing of vibration, and vibration is the point of attraction. So she would say, I feel happy. So she identified maybe how she was feeling or how she wanted to feel, but she was identifying the feeling of happy, identifying it, and then isolating it by just kind of looking around her current now for obvious things of happy. This is a beautiful room, by the way. So beautiful in so many ways. There is a lot in this room that if you focus on it, you could feel happy about. It's fresh and really clean. The sound carries very well. These baffles are intentional. The lighting is wonderful. It's not hard to find a reason to feel some happiness if you decide to. So I feel happy. I feel sure. I feel eager. I feel ready. I feel open. I feel alive. I feel eager for life. I feel sure-footed. So as she began saying those things, she discovered it was the best ever preparation, because now she's taking that good feeling, point of attraction person forward in time, forward in experience. So she began thinking of it like in this segment of intention, she was establishing a vibrational atmosphere, and then she and her atmosphere were moving forward and attracting from whatever was there what matched the atmosphere that she had accomplished. Not telling that person that they needed to be nice to her. Not nice people were irrelevant to her atmosphere. She had lighted her light board in a way that when she stepped into wherever she was stepping, it had to be good to her, because anything that wasn't good to her wasn't active in her, because she'd taken care of that in advance. See what we're getting at? Since it's attraction, 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 then anything you can do to prepare your point of attraction is a good thing. Now, in contrast, it's the reason that we wanted to have this conversation with you, because this conversation is so beneficial to so many, especially to you. Think about your opening words about that time that you were describing that wasn't so good to you. That's the opposite of the segment intended. That's remembering the past, using that as the reason to accomplish the feeling, and then stepping forward into life with that point of attraction. You see what we're getting at? And that's why for most people, things don't change very much, because they let what has been happening or what is happening be the reason that they offer a vibration, and then they just take it to the next segment, and the next segment, and the next segment. So the world and life and people and things and thoughts just keep coming to them according to what they've got going on. But you can change that. You don't have to think about what has been, and you don't have to think about what is. But it is a mastery that requires practice. Once you get the hang of this a little bit, you have that going on. You have that going on. And we love that you have that memory of having that going on when it was easy for you. You can do that again. You don't need anybody else. You've got it. You've got it. You've got it.
I never played a day of work.
job of keeping up with your desires? So, we've talked a lot about a lot of things here today, and we really want to get this in, and this is the perfect place to do it. You got to get out ahead of it, because as you're conveying this to us, you're not out ahead of it. You're remembering what was, which is activating within you a current problem in your current relationships. It's about that too. So you're not out ahead of it. So how do you get out ahead of it? We want to talk about meditation, because meditation clears your mind, and when your mind is clear, your vibration rises, and that's the best way to get out ahead of it. But there's something that is a practical application that you could do many times in every day, and that is segment intending. We want to describe what we mean by that, because we have an updated way of describing it to you since calibration is part of our conversation now. We just want to say to you that what calibration is not trying to fix something, because that calibrates you to the problem. Every time you try to fix something, you calibrate to the problem. So what true calibration is to find something in your now that you can focus on that hooks you to your power, to your clarity, to your source, to your strength. And then you take that calibrated, good feeling being into the world, or into a memory, or into a thought, or into something else. So you tune yourself, and then you go somewhere where the law of attraction can reflect back to you what you've got calibrated. Deliberate creation is deliberate calibration. Imagine there's a basketball player. He's in the NBA. What do you think he does during practice? He calibrates. He's been doing it for a long time. He's calibrating his muscle strength and his hand-eye coordination and the distance, and in many cases it feels innate. And he can, without thinking, it usually works best, he can, because of what he's learned, because of all of the calibration he's done, he can pop that basketball in the direction of the hoop, and it can go in because he has calibrated that. So that's a physical calibration. There's lots of physics. Esther can calculate how long it will take her to get someplace by how fast she is driving, given the fact that there's no traffic. There's a certain physical calibration that she can do. But there are other factors to factor in that she doesn't have control over, like traffic, that she can't calibrate in terms of just the physics laws of the universe. Those laws of physics of your world will take you so far, but there's a whole bunch of other calibration of thought and calibration of vibration that people aren't taking into consideration. Just stay with us a little bit. This is going to make sense to all of you. So the basketball player knows how fast he can run. He knows how he feels to day. He knows how to develop his muscles. He's learned about his hand-eye coordination. He's practiced enough that the odds are pretty good that when he's standing there on the free throw line uncontested, that he can make the basket. But does he always? Isn't it ridiculous how often those guys miss? With no one climbing on them, no one in their face, no one hurting them in the moment, no one defending the goal, there's no one standing up there slapping it out of the way. It's just them and the rim and the ball, and they miss. What's up with that? Well, they did the physics calibration. They've got that down, and really, on a good day, they can hit most of them. But what happens in the game? Who gets in their head? What's going on? Fans? Most of the arena sometimes doesn't want them to hit it. Most of the arena will jump for joy when they miss. Most of the arena will mock them while they're trying to hit it. Boo, 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 waving things behind the line. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Die, 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 the crowd is saying. So they've calibrated the physics part of it, but are they stable in the rest of it? Are they so at one with their inner being that the whole rest of the world could be rooting against them and it would not matter because they're in sync with pure positive energy and the powers of... You see what we're getting at? Most people are not even considering true calibration. Calibration is hooking up with Source, and Source is already hooked up with who you are and what you want, and the law of attraction is predominantly responding to that, and there's no reason for any of you to not get exactly what you want every time, except that you're taking into consideration too much of what somebody else is thinking about you in the same moment. And that's just a natural habit because most of you have been calibrating to them your whole life. Because you didn't know about your inner being. You didn't know what your emotions were telling you. You didn't know that there was another point that you could calibrate to. You were taught that your emotion, when you feel bad, it means that things are going well. That's what religions teach. Suffer and struggle and sacrifice and you'll go to heaven. What? What? That says you can have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. Well, really, in that case, they're right. Because when you croak, it is a happy ending. Every single time. But most of them don't want it that way. If you're not doing what they think you should be doing when you croak, they damn you to hell. Fortunately, they have no power over that. First of all, there is no hell. Second of all, you don't go where they send you. But when you reemerge into non-physical, you release all doubt and fear and worry, and you just naturally allow yourself, the law of attraction just draws you right to who you are. And that's what's going on all day, every day. All day, every day. So, our diagnosis of you, trying too hard, most of all, trying to please others. And in your effort at pleasing others, you're not pleasing yourself, and then you condemn yourself for even trying to please yourself. And we just want so much for you to know that when you feel good, it is so good. And when you feel thrilled, it is so good. And when you feel clear-minded, it is so good. And when you feel happy, it is so good. And when you feel wonderful, it is so good because that's who you really are. And nothing else will do for you. Nothing else will do for you. Nothing